I'm really glad to start. And whilst people are joining in, I just want to say hello to everyone and welcome to our collaborative event with the Women of Cyprus. My name is Phoebe Coles and I'm the co-founder and director of Vicinus. Vicinus is a humanitarian group and we raise awareness, do education initiatives and fundraising projects for various humanitarian projects and human rights issues. For example, women's rights, child rights and refugee rights are our main topic of focus, and that's for both Cyprus and abroad. And I'm very grateful and happy to invite our incredible guests to introduce themselves and to describe the work that they do.
Me? I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Hi, so my name is Seagull, even though in Cyprus everyone calls me Seagull. So yeah. I founded, the Women of Cyprus. Basically it was 1 year ago, but it's sort of soft launched. So the past few months, it's been more active. And it's about bringing awareness to Cyprus and generally, talking about women's rights, equality, feminism, just generally all the important issues that I feel like people don't talk about in Cyprus. That mostly includes women. Yeah.
It's amazing. I've been really inspired by seeing the work that you're doing and I cannot wait to see what you do next. I'm really honored to have collaborated with you and the Women of Cyprus on this project. Just so everyone that's joining in will, or who will see the video later, as we will post it online, just to give them a description of what this project is. We created a campaign where we both invited people to share their stories anonymously. And today we will be reading those stories from survivors who have who have survived and experienced harassment, abuse, or violence in any form in Cyprus. And we hope to raise awareness to these issues and help survivors feel heard, listened to, supported, and taken seriously. I thank everyone who has sent in their stories, and I now invite Seagull to read the submissions received by the Women of Cyprus.
Thank you. First, I want to say that also I want to thank everyone that trusted me and you, obviously, and for sharing their stories. Some sent me their stories, but they did not wish to be read out because they didn't feel comfortable. And also I put a poll on the page, which had a 90% of the people that said yes to being harassed from the followers that I have, which is a massive number. And I'm very grateful for the 10% that were not, and I hope that they weren't for real. Is it okay if I share one of my experiences and then I can read it, because I feel like it's a massive one for Cyprus in the harassment, not abuse era. So when I first moved back to Cyprus 4 years ago, I live in the Souvali, so it's near the main road Lemesu, and I was walking there at 12 in the afternoon. And then basically I was just walking, had my headphones in, and someone comes and just grabs my ass out of nowhere. And I turned around and I was really shocked. And I just was what to him? What? And he was just laughing at me. And then I was like, please don't touch me again. And then I just started walking towards another direction, and he got into his car and he started following me. And I really didn't know what to do at that point because I don't trust the police. So I just called my mom and I started crying because I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to take the long way home in hopes that he doesn't follow me home. And at some point he just lost me. But yeah, even talking about it makes me
I'm so sorry that you experienced that. It's really traumatizing and scary, and it doesn't leave you like you said, when talking about it, you still feel those feelings that you felt at that time.
Yeah.
I really thank you for sharing your experience.
You're welcome. And I just want to say, a lot of people say that, so why didn't you do something? Or people freeze. It's very normal for people to freeze when they're experiencing any kind of harassment or abuse, because your brain and your body just don't they don't understand why this is happening to them. and a lot of people just freeze. And that's what happened to me, because I'm always saying that I would like punch the guy, or I would like, you know, but when it happens to me, because it's not the first time that things like this happen, I just freeze in the beginning, because I'm just like, how could you do that? Like, but yeah. I'll read another story. So I'm gonna cry at some point. Okay. So there's one that says that when she was 14, a man started following her while he was masturbating, and the police of Limassol were just, they didn't care, and they just were like, so we need proof so we can go after this guy. And there was another woman that I know that messaged me this a while ago, actually, and they were talking about this guy that was in the street just masturbating to these two women, and they called the police, and the police was like, oh, we know this guy, he's harmless, go talk to him. Our police in Cyprus said to these two women that, oh, he's harmless, we know about him, he's always in this area, he's harmless, go talk to him.
Oh, wow.
That like breaks my heart, because the police are supposed to protect you. And yeah. Anyway, so there's more. Obviously, someone was talking about there was a guy that was touching her in a lot of places she did not want, and this was like on an outing at night. Catcalling was like a massive thing. Obviously, people just catcall. One is like being catcalled by an old man using very sexual, explicit language. Felt very violated. Another woman, she said that her ex kept showing his penis to her without any, without her will, so without any consent. Sorry, my mom and dog just walked in.
No problem.
And then we have another one, which is a bit longer, and it was about her, like 10 years ago. This woman was sitting with a friend of her mother's, and a friend of her mother's friend came and sat with them, a guy around his 50s, and she says that she was around, sorry, it's in Greek, so I'm like translating it.
Okay.
Yeah. And she was around 19 or 20, and this guy in his 50s was asking this 19-year-old girl if she has a relationship, and this girl was like, no, I'm single at the moment. And he was like, oh, such a beautiful girl, how come you're single? And then he turns around and tells her in the most vulgar way, you must suck dick though, right? And her mother's friend, the other woman, just laughed at this. And he kept making like these rude, remarks, and just didn't know what to do. And the other woman there was laughing instead of, telling him that's really inappropriate, you're harassing her right now. And I find it like, as a woman, if you're seeing or witnessing, and not just as a woman, as a man, you should stop this behavior. It's disgusting. Like she said that she felt dirty. Like he made her feel dirty. And the thing is, like, we're the ones that feel all these emotions in us. And we feel like guilt, and we feel embarrassment, and it's awful. There's another one again with an elderly guy that she was 17. And this elderly guy came and started, being nice to her. And then again, she just started asking her if she is a virgin or if she has had sex. And like, she was just working. And this guy she came and asked all these things. And then she was around 17, and this guy was 40. And he kept on insisting about, like wanting to sleep with her. Then there's another one, which is very sad, actually. There was this girl, she had gone out with her flatmates, and everyone got drunk, and they decided to go home and order some food. And some of the people went to get food, and she was left with a guy that she was, I think, living with. Yeah, anyway. And this guy started like, coming onto her, like starting abusing her. And she was just like telling him no and no and no, and he would keep doing it. he started like touching her under her skirt and stuff, and then suddenly she just froze, and she was telling him to stop afterwards, and then all her friends came back and this guy like stopped, and then after she confronted him in front of them, he turned all of the other people against her, and then everyone in that flat and all of her friends called her a whore and treated while she was the victim. So that's one of them that really broke my heart, because your friends are meant to like believe you and not believe someone that calls you crazy, because that's what they call us. And then I have another one, which is which is a bit long as well. Sorry. She calls it her ex, and she is 20 years old. This happened when she was 19. It was a weekend, and she decided to go for shopping at the mall with her little brother. And she remembers that she was walking and had noticed a group of friends between the ages of 20 to 21 standing in front of the stairs, and she can recall their voices and they might have been Greeks who were doing military service in Cyprus. For some reason at the time, she saw them standing there and felt weird, despite the fact that they needed to take the stairs to go downstairs. But she was waiting for them to leave. As you might expect, they did not do so, and I passed them and got to the stairs to go downstairs, and afterwards to my car, holding all this time my little brother's hand. And she was, as she was going downstairs, someone moved behind her, and she realized that they had also taken the stairs. 1 minute. Sorry. Oh yeah, and they started. And they just started talking to her and telling her hello, and they just started to tease her. And the guy from the group, by saying to him that, they're starting to tell her that she's a bad bitch, and they just start to follow her and like harass her until she was trying to get into the car, and they were telling her, let's follow that girl. And but anyway, they were just trying to follow her, and she finally got to her car and left, which was horrible, because they just find the most stupid dark places to follow you in, and it's horrible. And then there's another one, which is my last one, was another woman that this happened to her in her workspace, which I've also experienced. She had a guy above her was always harassing her at work, and she reported it to her CEO, but they did nothing about it, and that guy every day kept harassing her, which is something that happened to me as well in my first job. When I came back to Cyprus, my boss's son used to just verbally sexually harass me all the time, and at the beginning he was like, it's a joke, and I was like, this is not a joke to me, like, you have a girlfriend. I just felt uncomfortable, and I just left the job after a while, and this is what this woman had to do as well. They had to just leave the job so this would stop, because no one would believe them and no one would do anything for them. Yeah.
I'm so sorry to hear these stories, and I once again want to thank everyone, including you, for sharing your experiences. I think it's really important, and it's going to hopefully show that you're not alone, and we have strength in numbers, and that the more that we speak out, the more that we will destigmatize and hopefully stop society victim blaming, because that's a massive problem. And hopefully we will start taking things really seriously, because these are serious issues.
They are,
and it's not being taken that way. I will start reading some of the submissions that we've received with Vicinus. Some of them are long, but I'm going to read exactly how they've worded it, because I think it's important too. So for submission 1, I was on my way to Starbucks Central in Nicosia, parked nearby, and started walking towards there. I noticed a man on a bicycle going up the road. I took a turn towards a shortcut through a parking lot. The man had turned his bike around and cycled to the parking I was headed to. As soon as I walked into the parking lot, the man was there on my right side, some meters away from me, masturbating. I was with a friend. She screamed and we ran. This man had done this to other women I knew, or friends of friends. I called the police. They said that they would send a car to the area, but that is the only thing that they can do. The man is on a bike. He did this systematically and knew all the ways to escape within a minute or two. Some time after, I was walking down the same road with a male friend of mine and saw the man again, but this time he did not pay any attention to us because I was with a man.
Yeah.
I have no words. I'm so sorry to the people that have experienced this. It is a really scary situation, and it's not taken seriously, especially when it comes to people exposing themselves or masturbating. And people laugh it off and say it's a joke or it's funny, and it's really not.
No.
For the second submission, we have, when I was about 17 years old, I was at a sports match waiting for an autograph. It was a group of people there and one specific man behind me who was in his 40s. He had his hand in his pockets, and then I felt that hand touching me in my bottom area. I went forward and he kept touching via his pocket. I left after a few seconds, and then I saw him do the same thing to an even younger girl. What a disappointment and disgust to society. Oh, it's really heavy reading these stories, but I'm so thankful and grateful once again for everyone sharing these stories with us. For our third submission, we have, my friend came home and told me that a man in his car had asked her for directions. When she got a bit closer to answer his questions, she noticed that he was touching himself sexually and making groaning sounds. He exposed himself to her and she ran away. A neighbor of ours, a young woman of a similar age, experienced the same thing from the same man. The police were contacted as it occurred on our student accommodation premises. The police stated that they had already heard various reports of this guy doing the same thing to other women, and they said that they were looking into it. We never heard anything after that. I'm not sure if they ever found the man, even after so many incidents. It was scary and traumatizing. So, submission 4. Hi, I'm writing to describe my assault experience. In March 2013, when the crisis was becoming worse and worse in Cyprus, there was a big charity concert in Nicosia. The goal was to collect food for people who were struggling financially. I was 17 at the time and went with a friend. There were too many people there. Me and my friend were walking around looking for a place to sit when I felt a hand grabbing my butt. Because of the darkness and the number of people there, I couldn't understand who the person that groped me was. To this day, what I find most disturbing is that this was a concert for a good cause. I didn't expect that someone who wanted to attend that event would behave like this. I didn't do anything. I don't think there was something that could have been done, considering I didn't even know who that person was. Submission 5. When I was 17, I was raped by a guy I was seeing. I didn't realize I was raped at the time due to how our culture seems to perceive sex and relationships. For years now, I have struggled to meet someone and open up and be myself. Until last year, I came to a realization of what has happened to me and that I was raped. I had also suppressed a lot of what happened and how badly it had affected me. I'm about to start therapy soon, and I'm ready to move past this and accept that it wasn't my fault. Thank you so much for sharing that experience. I'm really happy that you're starting therapy soon, and I'm glad that you can see that it wasn't your fault. And I want to reiterate to anyone watching, if you were touched without your consent or you felt uncomfortable in any way, it's not your fault. And I really want to emphasize that. Submission 6. There's been a number of incidences in my life, as I think Cyprus has a pretty bad record with assault and rape culture. To be brief, I never reported any of these cases. I knew the police A, wouldn't do anything, B, wouldn't care, and C, would probably make things 10 times worse. So here goes. Catcalling and being followed are pretty standard. Happens a decent amount of times every time I'm out at night, especially when with friends. One night, things got particularly bad when I got very drunk and found myself coming in and out of consciousness with someone trying to assault me. Another time, someone followed me and my friend to a dark parking lot and started masturbating in front of my car. Thankfully, I only caught a glimpse, but now a friend always walks me to my car. Submission 7. When I lived in Cyprus, I used to honestly hate and fear going out on Sundays because I would receive a ton of verbal harassment. As a black woman, many men in Cyprus view me as an easy woman who just wants money. There is no respect. I'm so sorry that you had to experience racism as well as misogyny in Cyprus. Submission 8. On many, many occasions, Cypriot men have shouted Budana or at me whilst driving their cars, especially after I have rejected their advances. It is honestly so disgusting. I wish women would stop being called these horrible, offensive names for no reason. I agree. It's really terrible.
It's especially when you say no to them as well, when it starts to be so rude and mean.
And so many women around the world, but in Cyprus as well, we have that fear of saying no to a guy that we could end up being injured or even killed for just simply saying no. It's really terrible. Submission 9. After breaking up with my abusive ex, he began to send threatening messages to me and my friends. He would appear in areas that I was. I was afraid that he was stalking me. This was during high school. There are many stories of aggressive ex-boyfriends. I did not bother reporting. I knew no one would take me seriously. I'm really sorry for that experience. I can only imagine how scary that was, and to feel that you couldn't go for somewhere for support. That's really devastating. I just want you to know that your experiences are valid and that you are supported here. And the last 2 submissions are my experiences. I also wanted to share just a few because, like you, I've experienced quite a few things in Cyprus, unfortunately. When I was 18 years old, I was in the club with my friends and we went to a phone party and we were having fun. All of a sudden, a group of men grabbed me and tried to drag me out of the club. I was screaming and trying to get away, and because there was foam everywhere and loud music, my friends could not see or hear me. Lucky for me, another group of men who were British tourists saw what happened and helped me get free. When I got back to my friends, they had no idea what had happened, and I never reported what happened because I did not feel that I would be taken seriously or supported, especially because I did not speak the Greek language. I do feel very lucky. The outcome could have been a lot worse for me. And lastly, one of my second experiences, when I was at university in Cyprus, I was watching football with a male friend. As our teams were playing against each other, he randomly asked me to come to the kitchen, and when I walked to it, he confessed that he had feelings for me and wanted to pursue a relationship. I responded by saying, "I'm sorry, but I only see you as a friend." He then reached for the kitchen knife and said he would hurt us both because I said no. I ran out of the flat and told security at the university accommodation. The head of security said he would look into it and told me not to tell student support at university. When a week or 2 passed and I heard nothing, no updates, and this person was still living near me and I felt unsafe, I decided to go to student support. When the head of security found out, he shouted at me and told me that I should not have got the university involved. He said that he spoke to the guy and that he will leave me alone, and that I should take it as a compliment that he liked me. And that was the end of it. There was no repercussions, no safety measures put in place, and I was told that I must have exaggerated my claims by the male head of security.
I'm so sorry you had to go through that.
Thank you. I think both of us can really, truly resonate with how scary these situations are. And a lot of people ask outside these situations, why don't you contact the police? Why don't you contact? Well, I contacted someone like security or something linked to an institution in Cyprus that I thought would help me in some way. And I was severely let down. And other people in these stories have gone to the police and they said there's not much that we can do, or they hear nothing and they allow these things to happen. So I just want to say is to the people that sometimes question, why don't you do something about it? It's not as simple as it sounds. I would like you to ask if you have any thoughts or feelings that you wish to express before I make some concluding remarks that I've written down.
I just wanted to say that because, you know, how I've known a lot of people that have gone through this and they don't trust the police, and I find it very, very sad that you cannot go to the police to get that. And I've had a case of like revenge porn, and they went to the police and they just laughed at her and told her that she shouldn't have gotten naked in front of her boyfriend, and it was her ex. And I had a suspicion of revenge porn when I was in the UK, and they arrested the guy in the UK on a suspicion, on just a few, like by proof was like a little bit. and they went and arrested the guy in the UK. And in Cyprus, you give them hard proof and they're like, so I understand why people are so scared to talk, but that is one of the reasons I created the Women of Cyprus, because I want to be somewhere and I want to have an organization at some point that will push for these things to become better. I want people to come to me if I can help them in any way, so I can like direct them to somewhere. And what you said before, all of these things that happen to us, they're very traumatizing, they're very scary. From the littlest, which is not little for someone, to like the full sexual assault. It doesn't matter, it's not your fault. It shouldn't happen to you, and men should help us stop this behavior. It's just, we can talk, the women can talk and help each other and all of that. But the key to like ending this behavior is men helping out, is men starting to like speak up for us when they're not like those other men. So like a lot of men, they're like, but it's not us, stop talking about all men. Okay, if you're not one of those people, then you should speak up, you should start supporting us. We shouldn't be afraid to go in the street like you're not afraid to go in the street. Like, I'm terrified. No, I don't have to have someone walk with me in the middle of the night to feel safe. So I just want to say that if anyone generally wants to talk anytime they have any experiences, I'm here for them and I'll help them at the best of my abilities. I know I'm not an expert, but I want to help.
I'm so glad that you've created a safe space for women online. And I think that's a vital first step, because from my experience, you may agree, may or not, when I've even tried saying about some of my experience, even to some family members or friends, they're like, that doesn't happen in Cyprus. And if it does happen, it's to do with the tourists that are partying and they're doing all these crazy things. It doesn't happen in Cyprus. And a big reason that happens, I genuinely believe, is because the police do not record that these things are happening. They don't even bother to investigate. So it's not written down, or it's not seen like actual proof being there. And another thing that I think I saw someone write down earlier in the comments, another problem that we have is a lot of women, especially in Cyprus, from my experience, are accused of doing things for attention or saying their stories for attention. And that is absolutely not the case, especially with the way that they're blamed or not believed. Why would people put themselves through that? So I also wanted to say thank you to the person that commented that during the live stream so far, because that's a very valid point. I'm going to make some concluding remarks. I've written down a little statement. Again, I would like to truly thank everyone who has shared their stories with both Vicinus and the Women of Cyprus. We know that there are a lot more stories out there that have never been and that will never be told. Today was just a small sample, a reflection to a bigger, significant and systematic problem in Cyprus. In a very male-dominated and traditional society, sexism, misogyny and rape culture is rife, and it infiltrates to all levels in society. We need to work together to break away from the very common victim-blaming mentality and to start believing survivors. It's time we took harassment seriously. It's time all institutions in society, including the police, took harassment more seriously. There is a reason why so many of us feel that we cannot take our stories to the police. Because a lot of the time, we are told there is not much that can be done, or even worse, if you are also part of a marginalized group, or if you're someone deemed not Cypriot, or that you cannot speak Greek in Cyprus, very quickly and insidiously, discrimination in various forms often take place. We have seen this happen to many migrant women. For example, the British woman in Ayia Napa, how she was essentially slaughtered by the press and the police, and many, many more. We desperately need to change in society how women are seen, heard, and valued, and our activism must be intersectional. Black women, women of color, disabled women, Muslim women, refugee and migrant women, trans women and other women belong to the LGBTQIA+ community have a very different living experience in Cyprus, and thus should be given the platform or the microphone, so to speak, to safely share their experiences and opinions to be heard too. Additionally, I would like to say this one last thing before we go. All people deserve to be free from violence and the fear of violence in any and all of its forms. We have the right to be able to walk down the street without fear of harassment, assault, or attacks. We have the right to reject a person's advances or breaking up with a partner without fear of getting injured or killed for doing so. To those brave people who shared their stories, we are incredibly grateful. We know that it is difficult sharing your story, and just know that you have made an incredible and positive impact today. As some of you wrote to us saying, it's not your fault. And I want you to know that we take you seriously, you are valid, and you are loved. And for the people watching either now during the live stream or later when it's uploaded, just know that we see you, and I'm so sorry for everything you have also experienced that you have not shared. And again, it's also not your fault. When we post this video, we will also share some contact information and resources to help anyone who is in need of advice or help with what they have heard today or what they have personally experienced. I would like to personally thank you, Seagull, as well for your incredible work and collaboration with us. And I hope to work again with you soon.
Same, thank you. Thank you for everything that you do as well.
Thank you so much. And thank you to everyone who watched. And I thank everyone who will be watching later as well. I wish everyone a great evening. And thank you for allowing us to have the platform that we have to really at least start the conversation that needs to be had.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.